Hello and welcome back to West Central Women's Resource Center's Reconciliation Month. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jolene Wilson. My spirit name is Musqueam Kwe. Kimwan Goku Kwe. Maingan Dudam Winnipeg Dunji. Joined today by Karina.
Hi, my name is Karina, and I work here as case worker. I'm from Mexico, and even I don't speak any indigenous language. I have indigenous blood too.
Wonderful, wonderful. So today we're going to talk about gender and reconciliation, which is an extremely hard topic. So one of the questions we had put forth to us is how should we think of gender when working on reconciliation?
Reconciliation is a word that when we speak about it, we are thinking about a system, but we are thinking about the individuals. So as women, we are affected for all those big systems where being indigenous means to suffer lots of discrimination, usually, and poverty. And that's the same if we talk about Canada, Australia, Latin America.
Yeah.
It's something that affects to all indigenous women.
Yeah.
So cannot be a real reconciliation if that part of the system doesn't change.
That's right.
But at the same time, it comes the individual part. So we need to be aware about how those systems have been affecting all our life as women and how we have it inside our brain, our heart, in our emotions every day. Because we react from using those values and those culture that doesn't let us know sometimes why we are doing the things, but we do it. So I can see, for example, in my personal story, lots of discrimination. It has been very, very difficult for me to understand and to go back to my roots as part of indigenous.
Yeah.
Because these systems, so we cannot reconcile with other cultures if we don't understand ourselves first.
Beautifully said.
I don't know how you have feel it or live it, so maybe you can share a little bit.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. So when working on reconciliation, we do absolutely need to understand that that systems aren't, there's no woman in systems, that we aren't held in the same regard as we are within our families and our communities. It's very different. So I think that's where we need to get back to. In traditional indigenous lives, it's been that women were held as leaders in their communities, and since colonization, that has completely stopped, and we've become more pets and property rather than actual human beings. And I think that goes a long way to be said for all women and women identified. So I think how we should be thinking of gender when working with on reconciliation, I think we really need to think about what it means to be a woman in the systems, right? Yeah. So I think you hit it on the head when you talked about all of those things for yourself. Another one of the questions that we were asked when thinking about gender and reconciliation was, what are the traditional roles of women, trans, two-spirit, non-binary people in your tradition? So I don't know about where you're from, but long ago here, trans Two-spirit, non-binary people were considered to be war chiefs, medicine people. They took care of our families, while we were going to hunting and fishing and things like that. They helped us to raise our children. They were caregivers. They were normally the ones that gave us our names, because they had two spirits, so they were closer to Creator, and so they had these healing abilities, and so we held them in high regard. And they were loved and revered, and again, colonization came, and that sort of all went out the window. We had each tribe and territory sort of had their own name for Two-Spirit. Two-Spirit is not our word, but it's the only word that we have right now. I know that there are some folks out there, that carry a word for Two-Spirit, but that's something that was lost along with language along the way, right? So learning that for me would be really important as far as reconciliation goes, for us to be able to get back to those very important words in our language that describe who we are as women and Two-Spirit women. So that's really, really important to me. What about you? What about where you're from and in your tradition?
In Mexico, there are lots of indigenous cultures. And now with the time, lots of them have mixed with values from Western societies. So in my case, as I live in my family, I always remember that women were the caregivers. So family is very important in my culture. With the changes, of course, and because I'm coming from a family where one side of my family is not indigenous and the other side it is indigenous, what I could see is that the traditional roles changed lots. And it is kind of sad because lots of the roles changed not because the woman all the time wanted to change it, it is because they felt they have to change it to be modern. So I can remember, for example, my father talking about my grandmother saying things like they moved to the city because they wanted to not suffer the same discrimination that in the town, and that as women they couldn't even dress like traditional they dress, or be doing all the things that they used to do because it was not okay for them. It was not okay because it wasn't accepted in Western values. So sadly I can say that I cannot have a clear idea how it is like the traditional roles in the Nahua culture, because in my case that doesn't exist anymore. So the process for me to find my roots is to figure out how it was in the past and what I want to keep of that past. And I think that's something that lots of women now are facing. When I see indigenous women here around and they are very young, I'm sure that they have similar issues as the ones that I had, right? They can see to their past, but now they have to think what kind of values they want to keep because they are living in a different area and with different cultures around.
Absolutely. That's really, you have a way with words. Okay, so, you're gonna ask, all right.
We're gonna talk about how reconciliation can contribute to build a personal and cultural identity among positive Indigenous woman, I mean an identity that could be positive around Indigenous women.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, I think, and again, it's just my opinion, but I think when we talk about Indigenous women, the first thing that comes to mind that we see and we talk and even on social media is missing and murder, and it's horrible and it's awful and it's gut wrenching, and it should absolutely be a focus. But I also think part of healing that is starting to focus also on the skills and knowledge that Indigenous women carry. The dancers and the singers, the doctors and lawyers, and there's so many Indigenous women that contribute to society and life as a whole in such good, positive ways, and that's not often talked about. And you had said something to me earlier today when we had a bit of a conversation. You had said that not only is it not in our it's not in our conversations, our daily conversations, as much as MMIWG, because it's not part of the system. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head with that one, because you're right. It's really hard to have that conversation. It's really hard to see Indigenous women empower and doing and contributing to life in such a good, positive way, because the system only focuses on the bad stuff, and you don't get to focus on the good stuff. And there's the bad stuff outweighs the good stuff at this point, right? And so I think, while we are acknowledging MMIWG, while we're uplifting the families, while we're marching alongside of them, searching and praying and having ceremony for them, that we should also be looking at them and seeing all the positive contributions that they have either left behind or that their family members have that are here right now. So there's so many ways that we could uplift the positivity of being an Indigenous woman right here and right now. So I'm hoping that we can start talking about Indigenous women in a more positive way. And I think that will help to lend for empowerment when it comes to MMIWG.
Yeah, I'm always it's very painful, to see that Indigenous women are the first affected for poverty, discrimination, and violence.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's so sad, as you say, to see that we don't have spaces to talk about these kind of topics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can see poor Indigenous people, they are suffering so much. But they don't see that our cultures are enough strong, that there are lots of women that are already in power, and they don't really need to prove anyone that they are strong.
Mm-hmm.
But we need spaces, any ways to talk and to think how we want the reconciliation, because reconciliation can be good if we have these spaces to think how we want to build our identities, not how other people or the systems want us to build our identities.
Yeah.
I remember that when I started working here in Canada, one of my co-workers came from the north, and she was Indigenous. And she was wearing traditional clothes in the office. So at the beginning it was shocking for everyone in the office, because in that office everyone was very well dressed. But that changed the dynamic inside the office. She didn't change the way as she used to wear her clothes,
Yeah.
you know, and that small action is a reconciliation action, you know, to be able to be as you decide to be as Indigenous woman, doesn't matter the space where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and that you don't have to respond to values or to rules that Western society has imposed.
Mm-hmm.
So there is lots of work to do, you know,
Yeah.
and as you said, as more work we would do, so we will be able to stop the violence too.
Yeah.
Because we cannot allow that there are lots of women around being murdered, you know, and for example, there are not even accounting about the number, right?
Yeah.
So we will need to work in both sides.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, I think that you have an amazing perspective, and I really have enjoyed having these conversations with you. And I want to thank you for being here to have this conversation with you. So we grudge for that. And thank all of you for coming and joining us in this conversation. We look forward to hearing your comments, and we hope that you join us for the rest of the month. See you later.
Bye.